All right, well, I'm gonna get going. So we're gonna call this meeting to order for our first bylaw committee meeting for December 6, 2022 at 7:02. We are being, Walpole Media has joined in and we are being recorded, just so everyone knows. But thanks everyone for meeting, and I'm sorry again for the switch to Zoom last week, and I hope next time that we can meet together. Being that we are doing Zoom, I'm gonna do a roll call vote just so we have attendance for everyone. David Blau.
Here.
Nancy Diane.
Here.
Emilio de Virgilio.
Present.
Virgilio. Sorry.
That's okay.
Patrick Fasanello has not logged in from what I can see right now. Allison Hamilton, I am here. Amanda LaFleur, I have not seen her log in. William O'Connell.
Bill, yep, Bill's here.
Yep, and Doug Shea.
Here.
All right, so we can get going. I don't think tonight we're gonna probably be too long of an evening. One thing that we do have to do is vote in a permanent chair. Right now I'm a chair pro tem. I'm happy to take this on. I don't know if there's any other interest as well organizing it, but we do need to formally vote on a chair for the committee.
I nominate you, Ally.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. And then we'll do a vote for who's here. Ally Hamilton, I will abstain from voting. David Blau.
Yes.
Okay. Emilio. You're still on mute. Sorry. Because we're on Zoom, we're going to be doing a roll call vote for this as well. Emilio.
Aye.
Yep. Okay. Nancy.
Yes.
Let's see, Patrick's on here. Bill O'Connell
Yes.
and Doug.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Oh, Amanda, you're in.
I'm here. Sorry
Um,
about that.
No, that's okay. We just kind of jumped right in. Amanda, we are on Zoom tonight, so I just want to let you know that Walpole Cablevision is here with us, and we're also being recorded. Nancy just nominated me to continue to chair the committee. So if you would like to vote, you may.
Oh, yeah, sure. You got my vote.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. And so I don't think we'll be too long, and I really do hope next time we'll be meeting in person. I looked over the minutes. So the minutes from our last meeting of this committee go back to 2004. So I did review those and kind of got an idea, but this is a small committee, so we are open to ideas of how we want to kind of get organized. So our goal would be to review the bylaws and have a recommendation for Springtown meeting. So have these revisions ready for the town warrant for the spring meeting. Anyone have any ideas of how they would like to attack it as they reviewed?
Ally, Bill O'Connell. So I looked through the minutes also. Just a question. This is supposed to be done every 5 years. Was that the last time they were done in 2004 and 5?
That was the last that they could find for minutes. Laura,
Sure.
Yes, they went up to the attic, and that is what they scanned up for us.
Okay. And the other question is, are we presenting it at spring, or because Liz had given me chapter C of the charter, which referenced the town bylaws committee that we were appointed in the fall, and then we were reporting at the next fall annual town meeting. But is it spring?
No, actually, Bill, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, but I think it is a 1 year, so it would be fall.
It would be. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, sorry for all the questions, but I guess my
No.
final question is just working backwards. What type of authority do we have ultimately if we, once we decide what areas may need to be addressed? Do we have to go through FinCom eventually to make a presentation at the town meeting? I just want to understand the process.
I know, and I think that as a committee that's just kind of reconvening together, and I just want to let everyone know Patrick Fasanello, he has joined in too. Hi, Pat. As a committee, I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for us because we don't have kind of current information to go back on.
Yeah, so which is fine, but we don't want to be spinning our wheels. So I guess ultimately I'd like to know, what we depending on what areas we approach, what type of authority we have, and what are we going to need to, assuming we can all agree on what areas need to be revised, because the general bylaw has numerous, has numerous departments. It addresses numerous provisions. So I just want to make sure we understand what our goals are, what type of authority we have. So a year out, we haven't met 15 times and we don't have any authority, if that makes any sense.
Yes, absolutely. I think that makes sense. And I don't honestly have all those answers tonight for you, Bill.
Okay. No, and I don't expect you to. But again, I think we want to get a sense of what
Yeah,
our authority is.
looking over the bylaws, there certainly has been revisions, like things that we have changed that have been approved by town meeting and voted on by town meeting. And as a member, I'm also, Doug and I are also both on finance committee. And, for finance committee, our vote is kind of the vote towards town meeting. And we have certainly approved some of these bylaw, but I would say most of those items for the warrant did not come, obviously from finance committee. So.
Well, and Doug, and through you, Ally, but Doug, you probably, know the process. So are we going to have to come in front of FinCom with any proposed revisions?
I don't know that I know the process any better than anybody else. I don't know that this is a recommendation to town meeting, so I don't know if we'd fall under like section 1 of the warrant and therefore have to go before FinCom, or if it would just kind of be presenting the recommendation to town meeting and letting them vote. But I thought I saw in the minutes that there was some conversation about the last, the 2004 minutes was something going to FinCom, but I'm not entirely
I saw it
sure.
too, and I saw the town council actually weighed in on some of the proposed revisions also.
Yeah, and I was right now quite surprised at how short our bylaws were currently. It seems that a lot of items have been removed that may be covered in other areas. And looking through the minutes, the last committee that met did address each change as a separate article. It seemed. So I would say that those would be from us, but obviously we will check in with Jim Johnson. And I think there's definitely going to be some other boards or, town officials that we're going to reach out to kind of see if some of these items are still going on. I mean, just as reading as an instant FinCom, it says we will appoint a chair and a secretary and a vice chair in July. Well, I can say I'm on my second term and those never happen until September.
Okay.
That's just like a very simple change. But there's other items that we're going to want to seek out some town officials to see, is it still operating this way and should there be changes made?
Sure. Okay. Would it make sense to have someone from the town that can kind of weigh in, or an expert that might address which provisions are disjointed and what areas may need our review as part of our process?
Absolutely. And looking over the minutes too, I saw that there were often members of other committees and town officials, fire, police, invited to the meetings to kind of go over, once we kind of go through each article and say, these are areas that we want to make sure that either they're accurate, need some updating, and inviting those members into some of these meetings.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ellie.
And so when we were talking about our plan of action, and the other thing that we will need to do is kind of set our timeline of how often we feel that we need to meet. It seemed like the last committee broke it down. So there's currently 8 members on the committee, and it seemed that they kind of broke it down by sections to review, that everyone, obviously read each section, but maybe if you were assigned a certain section, that you would seek out, say Board of Health over something more specific, or the police chief, or kind of a little clarification. Does that seem like a good idea, that maybe we'll do that? And
Yes.
it is a little hard because the chapters and things, it kind of, when you read through, it does seem like it skips around a little bit. And I think that's kind of removal of some areas, because when we looked at reviewed the minutes, there's big chunks that were removed, say from like Board of Health and things like that. So it certainly does jump around.
And we're not looking at the charter, right? I mean, some of these probably refer back to the town's charter, right?
No, that to change the town charter, from my experience on FinCom, is a much more challenging item to do and very costly as well.
Yeah.
And to change the town charter also, then it goes to a state level for approval. So this is just the town bylaws. When reviewing, did anyone have anything that they want to bring up to this first initial meeting as we kind of talk about how we want to break it up? Or areas, you know, typically when we're doing town meeting, we kind of go through each warrant. We may say, oh, let's put a hold on that. And I think, you know, obviously we want to review each section, but there's some sections I already kind of pointed out that seem to need a little bit more insight and kind of investigative work to see if it was still a current way of things, how things were operating in town.
Well, I'm sifting through these. I see the animal, just substantive areas that we might be able to review. Animal control officer. Building maintenance advisory committee. Contracts and purchasing. Town council, authority of town administrator. Are those some major areas that we, you know, that are in our jurisdiction?
I think we certainly look over each area, absolutely. And the animal control officer, that we have voted in and talked at lengths about in the past recent years, because it has been on fall town meeting of 2018. It was voted on and changed, and that role, to me, the bylaws currently didn't really state how that role, I feel like, is, because now we are in a Walpole Norwood kind of contract sharing animal control officer. So that area, to me, definitely, Bill, seemed like an area that we need to look into a little bit more. And I think we need to talk with Jim Johnson and talk with the police department concerning that, because I feel like that language maybe needed some updating in the bylaw. And there's a permanent building committee, but there was the secondary committee of the building maintenance advisory committee, which I'm not sure is currently even appointed. I could not find anything online for that, or if that is even happening. Did that strike anyone else?
I noticed that as well, Ally. That was one of the things I had noted. I do not know of that committee, so I don't think it's been done. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I could not find any information. And with the many projects that had just happened in town, I know I have not seen any kind of update at finance committee or at town meeting, I feel like, of the conditions of the building as a overall report from a committee. So I thought that was an area that kind of really need more addressing as well. Was there any section, because we do have to kind of break this up, because I think it would be a lot of work and it would be a redundancy if we all reached out. Was there any section any individual really wanted to kind of spearhead and kind of start making those calls out to certain, you know, other boards, or?
Ellie, again, I would think it may be helpful to maybe have Jim Johnson or someone that early on that might be able to guide us to see which area, you know, or any other representatives or town members, but which areas really we may need to focus on that really need assistance.
Okay,
or
we
revision.
certainly can. I'm happy to reach out to Jim once do we have a night that kind of, it's a little bit hard, but is there a particular night, or do we want to try to reconvene again early on in January, I would say? And and maybe get Jim to join in a meeting early January.
Good idea.
I'll say this, this Monday night time slot, before finance committee starts, kind of works for me. But, if we're going to continue on these Zoom meetings, it can almost be any night. Some of them I'm definitely going to have to take on the phone because I'll be driving my kids to practice and then be sitting in a car. But I can be open to pretty much any time. But I do like Bill's suggestion of getting someone to come in and kind of walk us through this. When I was looking at the E-code 360, I was kind of confused by the 29 different articles versus the packet that we got, which was just, the 14 pages long. It kind of left me wondering if we have a lot more work to do than this 14 pages that we were given that's on. But I think whether it's Jim or if it's Liz, I would like to kind of talk to somebody from the town to get some more clarification at the next meeting. But Monday nights work for me, and I can be open any other night.
Me too.
All right. And then, I mean, Doug and I both are currently serving on finance committee too. So once we hit usually end of January, kind of heading to February, it can be hit or miss. We typically end up with Monday, Thursday night meetings. But we can organize. So why don't we plan on then? There's a little bit of feedback, but what about maybe we can reconvene Monday, January 10th?
Okay.
And I will reach out to both Jim Johnson and Liz Gaffney, from the town clerk's office.
It might be Liz too, because Liz was on the 2004 committee, Ellie.
Yeah, she was on the 2004 committee. I noted that too. And as Doug just said, reading through the minutes in our 14 pages, I did feel like there's this big chunk missing. I can't believe that much would be cut out of our bylaws.
Well, to Doug's point, I think you'll see that the bylaws reference revisions in town meeting. And so if we're addressing some of these areas, we're going to have to somehow pull up what's what, and what the state, whether it's town meeting from 1985, if it's supplanted in here, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Go right ahead, David.
I think that it's very important that we begin our work with a current and complete version of the bylaws. And I think that that's something that Liz would be able to help us out with a great deal.
Yes, when I asked for the hard copies, I was quite surprised. I didn't want to print it at home. And when it was just the 14 pages, I was like, this is it. And it seemed a lot of the minutes from the last 2004 committee seemed to reference quite a bit more.
I know, I thought this was going to be a lot easier. I was like, oh, wow, this is all it is.
Yeah. But going over the minutes, there was information from the Board of Health with trash and recycling, quite a bit on the dogs. There was quite a bit of information for the police concerning noise, firearms, fire lanes. There just was quite a bit more of items that they were really kind of vetted out.
Yeah.
So I certainly think that we have more.
I mean, I'm looking at chapter 17, which references the permanent building committee. And then it references a history of the 1973 bylaws updated in 2002 with the footnote, subsequent amendments noted. So, I mean, that stuff I think we're going to have to pull together.
Yes, which is why I think eventually we'll want to break it out into sections and everyone having 3 sections so that they maybe can find that paperwork and then cross-circulate it to all of us to review.
I hope it's up in the attic.
Everything should be, everything should be at Town Hall and in the attic. I was grateful that she made what we have from 0405 electronic. And she said she was not able to find, and that just this committee has not, been elected for quite some time. So, all right, well, I wasn't anticipating our meeting tonight to be too long because it was just bringing this committee together for the first meeting, begin to discuss what we think we need to kind of our project at hand, and selecting a time and date. Hopefully that works in the future. I'm happy to do Zoom, but I'm also happy for us to try to convene in person too. I think it kind of depends on how much we end up pulling together, depending on maybe what night it is and what section we're going to be really kind of digging into.
Now, she managed to come up with the money all during the.
Did anyone else have anything else that we wanted to bring up tonight? I don't, the agenda for this evening was quite short.
I just wanted to mention the E-Code 360 that's on the town clerk's website. I've been looking at that. It was a very valuable tool that's available, again, through the town clerk's website, that shows all of the different articles. It's basically the packet that we were given, but it gets into all 29 articles, shows you the subsections. Some of that stuff you were talking about, Bill, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure all the annotations are in there, but it just does seem like the E-Code 360 is pretty up to date. It references the select board as opposed to the select men. So I think it's pretty up to date. So that's a good, it's a good reference point for people to look at if they haven't had a chance to kind of jump into some of the different articles, or as before we meet next time, to get a sense of what's out there and what people might want to view. I suggest going to this E360 website or link, and I can post it in the chat if people aren't familiar with it. But it was,
Great, thank you. It sounds like a really great resource.
yes, it is, or I found it to be. So far.
Doug, if you could go ahead and post that in the chat.
To try to avoid.
All right, I just posted it, but since we're being recorded, it is it's something that is just on the town clerk's website. It's in the little on the left hand side. There was bylaws. I'm sorry, I've lost it now. But it was something that I was able to get to through the town clerk's website, so it's readily available to anyone. Yeah, under Walpole Charter and General Bylaws, there it'll take you right to the E60 link that I just put in the chat, ecode360.com.
And like you said, I think, Doug, I have looked on that, when you're looking at the Walpole Charter as a full on the online, it's quite lengthy, obviously, and kind of gets into a lot of these articles more specific. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for logging in tonight. And so what we'll do for our plan of action is I'll reach out to Jim Johnson and Liz Gaffney. We'll tentatively set to meet again on January 10th at 7 o'clock. I hope that we could do in person, and we'll kind of see how it is. The agenda, anyone who would like to add anything to the agenda specifically, certainly send it my way. Because I will prepare that, to be posted by the town's clerk's office. And one other point, did everyone get a chance? I'll make sure to say everyone get a chance to be sworn at the town's clerk as well prior to tonight's meeting. That was something that we were all set to do. So.
Excuse me, Ally.
Yes, Pat.
Did you say January 10th?
If we could do January 10th.
I think that's the second Monday in the month, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Sewer and Water, meets at 6:30.
Sewer and Water meets at 6:30. Okay. Let's see. I know it does get complicated.
I thought you had said January 11th.
I am available for a Tuesday night if we want to try to do a Tuesday night. The 17th is a holiday, and don't want to postpone it so late that we're at the end of January. And I feel like that first Monday of the month is a little bit difficult, the 3rd coming right off the holiday weekend.
Okay, for me, sewer and water meets on
The
the
second
2nd and
Monday,
4th. That's it. Unless there's a holiday. Then we don't meet.
okay. Would Tuesday night, does that have a big conflict for anyone on 1/11? Amanda, you have a conflict? All
I
right,
do. Tuesday nights are just tough. My husband travels and then my kids have sports and stuff on Tuesday nights.
I know.
Yeah. We're the same.
I know that as I introduced the group to the doodle poll, not everyone had heard of a doodle poll, and I was like, it's a great way to quickly get that tab. All right, what about Wednesday, 1/12? Does Wednesday work, 1/12?
What
A
time?
Monday would be okay if it's not the 2nd or 4th. I mean, Monday is, it's just those 2 Mondays in the month.
I'm on
And I'm in trouble.
conservation, so when they meet on 2nd and 4th Wednesday, so.
Second and fourth, does the Wednesday, the 12th work? Or no?
Just what time are you saying?
I would say probably about the 7 o'clock time.
Yeah, I could do that if that works for everybody.
The 12th is the second Wednesday, so that's not going to work for
No.
me either, right? Yeah.
I can't.
You can't.
No.
All right. So, all right, let me reach out to Liz and Jim, because they obviously end up attending many meetings too, and I will send out another doodle poll. But now that I have a few of the conflicts, like, you know, I know sewer and water is at the 2nd Monday of the month, and then
And the 4th,
in the 4th, and
2nd
then
and 4th.
Doug and I, come the end of January, will end up with Finance Committee on Mondays and Thursdays. And Amanda, Tuesdays is a conflict for you. So we may end up even looking at 1/3. So I'll send out I'm going to reach out to Liz and Jim and kind of, there's so many boards going on in town, seeing what's a good night. And I will send out another doodle poll. I would hope to meet before the 15th of January, so kind of earlier in the month, so that we can get that guidance and then we can just get going. Because even if we're going to have recommendations for fall town meeting, that warrant kind of closes out much earlier. So I'm, in my mind, we'll need to have wrapped this up kind of by July, to be able to have things ready for town meeting. So, all right.
Yeah, and it may not be possible, but given, I think things are kind of lighter right now for the next couple of weeks for people like Jim and Liz. And if it's possible to, you know, kind of have a meeting with them in the next, you know, week or two before Christmas, if they have available time, I'd be willing to do something sooner rather than later, just to kind of get the initial, this should be your task, this is what you could focus on. I'm happy to wait until January, but if their schedules allow for, if it's better to do it in the next couple of weeks, I'm certainly open to that. So I don't know how other people feel, but I kind of want to get our charge, you know, get it ironed out, know exactly what we have to do, and then just kind of follow up in January. So I don't know if that's possible, Ally, but I'm certainly open to that. If you talk to Jim and Liz and that seems to work for them.
No, absolutely. I'm fine with that too. My calendar is a little bit light. We're heading into Thanksgiving was rough, but it certainly has lightened up in December.
Yeah.
So I'll reach out and see what dates we have. Maybe both of them will be able to join us. And then we'll send out a doodle poll, so that way we can kind of throw some dates out there. And see, and I know as a committee of 8, and many of us are on different organizational committees too, it is hard to get us all together in one night, so. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting for the evening?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Night.
Have a good evening, folks.
You too.
Go.
Good night.
Good night.